What's up everyone, I'm NyVo. I'm going to start a series of videos where I test out different amplifiers for headphones, and I'll do about 3 headphones at a time and just give you my impressions, subjective opinions, and whether or not I recommend them or not. And I'll probably throw up some graphs and some specs for each amp just to have a little bit of science to the subjective opinions. But today we have the Hi-Fi Man Arya V1, which I'm borrowing from a friend. I haven't heard that in a long time, so it'll be interesting to hear it. This is the Sennheiser HD800 and the Beyerdynamic DT 1990 Pro. We'll start off the video with single-ended amplifiers for the first half, and then we'll move on to balance in the second half. The first half, we have the Bottlehead Crack do-it-yourself tube amp, the Shit Valhalla 2, another tube amp, a Magni 3 Plus, and the Zencan, which is actually balanced, but I don't have the 4.4 to dual 3-pin XLR, so I have to use the 3.5 millimeter input, which is single-ended, but we're going to use the balanced output, so it'll be pretty close to what it would sound like balanced anyways. And then we'll move on to the balanced test on the second half of the video, which will be Jotunheim version 2, Synxer SA1 Class A, and the KN IHA 6. And I'm borrowing this, I haven't heard it yet, which is the RAL HSA 1B and the Moon Audio 430HA. We'll use the same DAC for all the tests, which will be the TIAC UD501, which is a fairly neutral sounding DAC. Doesn't really color the sound, so that's why I picked it. And someone's also borrowing my Hollow May, so this is probably the next best DAC I have that is not colored. I think this is a little bit more fair of a DAC to use than the RME ADI2, just because I can hear that the RME is doing something to the sound. Whereas this one, it just sounds a little bit thin and not really wrong, I would say. The stage is smaller on the TIAC than some of the other DACs, but compared to budget DACs, it's pretty good. Alright, so I'll get started and start listening and then tell you what I think. Alright, I'm going to start off with the Arya on the Magni 3 Plus. Alright, quick summary. I'd say it's better than I expected on the Magni 3 Plus. I did hear some sibilant at the beginning, but the tracks I tried after that didn't really have that many S's. It's actually not that bad of a setup, but I'll try it against some other amps to see if they're better or worse. So let's try it out. Go to the Valhalla 2 next. Here. I'm immediately hearing some failure here. It distorts at around 132. So, but it does sound creamier though. Oh no, it cannot do bass at all. So let's try. This is I don't really have to go further. This is a fail. It Arya can do bass, but not on this amp. So on to the next one. Same issue. Huge problem with the bass. Nope, not recommended. Now I've had similar experiences with other planars on these. Both tube amps just don't play well with these planars for whatever reason. It gets like super choppy and just huge problems. Definitely no. I'm going to skip the Zencan for now because I can't find the 3.5 to RCA adapter, and just for the sake of time, I'll just switch over to the HD800 on the single-ended. So let's just try that now. Alright, we're plugged into the Magni with the HD800. I'm going to start testing. I hear really bad sibilance immediately, and the stage is small for this headphone. More sibilance, it's almost unlistenable, so I switch tracks right away. Yeah, every time that sibilance kicks in, I can barely even listen. Alright, I can just say this is not a good pairing for this headphone. The stage is kind of small, really small for what it normally can do for this headphone, but kind of small compared to other headphones. And the sibilance is just too much. I have to adjust my volume just to get past the S's, and I guess it's pretty much unlistenable on this amp. So let's move on to the Valhalla 2. It sounds okay, not special. It actually does have some bass kick to it. It's kind of nice. So this is a binaural track, and it's actually pretty good. I would say it's kind of acceptable, but just not getting to the capability of the headphone. It sounds okay. Nothing sounds really bad on it, and the normal sibilance does get reduced. So it's an okay amp for the HD800, and one of the cheaper ones that are actually kind of okay for it, but I don't know, still not. I think I like the Arya on the Magni more than the HD800 on the Valhalla 2. Let's go with this. These cables. Sounds pretty good. So definitely a good pairing with the Bottlehead Crack. For the price, it's quite a nice sound. I think it actually beats the Arya on the Magni. So now I have to test HD800 on the Crack versus Arya on the Magni. So let me do that real quick. I'd say the HD800 wins on Bottlehead Crack, which is okay. So out of these three, I thought HD800 sounded best on the Crack, and out of these three, I thought the Arya sounded best on the Magni. but I think the HD800 on the Crack beats the Arya on the Magni. All right, so now I've got to do the DT 1990. Let's see where that stacks up. All right, I've got the 1990 plugged into the Magni. Testing it now. This has a sibilance too, but it's at a higher frequency, it sounds like. It's like near the hi-hats. I'm getting if I crank it pretty loud, louder than I should play it, I hear that the bass is distorting the treble, which probably means I'm playing it way too loud, but just something to notice. To note, the Fostix Purple Hearts also do that really badly. I think most people listen around this level. It sounds acceptable, but really like nothing special to me. I think people paying this much might expect something more, and I certainly do. So let's try the next one. Valhalla 2 DT 1990 Pro. I should mention that these tubes are upgraded. I don't remember which one they are. They're like gold lions or something. It sounds alright. Nothing. It sounds like I want more. It's not. I don't know. Nothing special. Let's try this guy. The bass fails on this. I'd say for the DT 1990 Pro, the amp made the least difference between these three, but none of them did anything really special. So just get the cheapest one, I guess. But I would just say not to get this headphone. If you're considering these three, this is cheaper, but you know, these two are much in a different league, I would say. This would be like the cleanest sound. This would be the most interesting sound, and you know, it actually is, I would say, the nicest when it's on the Crack. In the DT 1990 Pro, I hear problems. I hear the sibilance at the hi-hats and anything around that area, and the bass gets broken up sometimes, you know, if you play a little too loud. So I don't know, but it's also cheaper. So and I can't really pick which amp's the best. So looks like our winner for this is the HD800 on the Crack. Second place is Arya on the Magni. In third place, 1990 Pro, and it doesn't really matter which amp. I would say it's the worst on the Valhalla 2 because the bass gets broken up a little bit, and it also gets broken up on the Crack, but they both sound smoother, so I don't know. I just can't really recommend this for any of these, really. That's how I feel about it. Alright, next we'll do the balanced. Alright, so now I got the HD800 going to the iHouse 6. We're doing the balanced now. So switch to XLR. Let's try it out. Previous winner was a Crack, so let's see if it beats it. So far, I would say it has a full sound, but it doesn't extend to the bass. So the mids, lower mids to mids to upper mids, it sounds more full than anything else so far. but the bass is lacking and everything sounds a little bit hot. So the crack calms everything down and makes it sound smoother. Let's see. And the stage is pretty much gone. I don't hear much stage at all. Definitely nothing special about this setup, so let's move on. Other than the tonality being nice and full, I didn't really like that. So this has a much calmer sound. Oh, by the way, this is a modded syncer. I put the jumpers in there, which hard to describe everything, but in one shot. But basically, it gives it more treble and bass, but the mids are less creamy than stock. So, however, it's still much more smoother and creamy sounding than the iHouse 6, which sounded too hot to me for the HD800. Well, once again, I don't get the cool stage effect that HD800 can do with either of these, but it still doesn't sound bad. Like, if you just need something, this is probably good, just something amp. It doesn't do anything special. But if you like stage like me, this is definitely not their amp, so I don't like this amp. This is kind of like an in-between between solid state and tubes, that type of sound. So far I like the Crack better than both of these. The Crack stage is a little bit better. But this has a nicer sound than the iHouse 6 for the HD800. Let's try the Jotunheim. I've actually never listened to this amp before, so this will be a first for me. It's not bad. So out of these three, HD800, Jotunheim for me is the easy winner. It has the best overall sound. It doesn't sound too hot. It has the option for the bass boost, which helps for HD800. Now I'm going to compare it to the Crack because I'm curious. I think the Jotunheim's the winner, but I just want to make sure. So let me do that real quick. Have to switch cables. All right, I'm back on the Crack with HD800. And the Crack, I think, wins, actually. Yeah, I'd say the Crack wins. It's close, but this is doing it just a little bit more. But I was surprised the Jotunheim's doing better than I thought. First time hearing it. Let's do the Arya now. Alright, let's take this out. I don't think I need the Crack anymore. I'm gonna turn it off. Alright, so now I'm back on the Arya. I'm doing the Jotunheim first since it's already plugged in. Alright, so stage is smaller than the HD800, but the bass is much more, it's much more impact than the HD800. I think that this would sound better on most tracks where HD800 will be a little bit pickier, but right now between HD800 on Crack and Arya on Jotunheim, I personally would like the HD800 on Crack more, but it's not that it's, you know, one is way worse than the other or anything. They're pretty close. And I really like the bass boost. I generally like more bass, so it's a nice feature. Jotunheim's nice. I do like it. So let's try the next one. Onto the SA1. It's also nice, but I do like that Jotunheim bass boost. So if I had to pick between these two, I would pick Jotunheim. I think it's cheaper too. So that's just me. This is a little bit less hot and a little bit more creamy. And keep in mind that's modded. And this just, the bass just comes through a little bit better. So let's try the IHL6. The IHL6 is better at letting you hear all the background sounds. It's more revealing than the other two, but it always sounds hot to me when it's on the UD501. I like this paired better with the RME ADI2 DAC than I do on the 501. I think it's because both of these are a little bit hot and it makes it hotter. So neither of these three stage very well at all. But they don't sound, neither of them sound bad either. So if you like technicalities, you're probably going to want something better. We'll try these guys next and see. I've never heard this amp at just HSA1B, so I'm interested to find out. I was impressed with the Jotunheim, and I think so far the winner, you know, before we move on to the big boys, is the HD800 on the Crack. It's probably my favorite. Second place is the Jotunheim with either headphone, I would say. And I would just say this pairing is a little bit too hot for me. So I don't know. I like the Jotunheim because of the bass boost. That helps me a lot. Alright, moving on. Alright, so I'm listening now to the Arya on the HSA1B. This is my first time hearing this amp. First thing I noticed is the knob is very, it's one of the worst knobs I've felt. It does not feel nice. Anyways, the sound, when I first turned this on, I thought I was listening to the HD800 because the stage just really went out. And I've never really heard the Arya like that before, so let me listen again. I really do not like the knob. I would say as much as I like the stage on this, the lack of bass kind of kills it for me. So I'm kind of, I don't even know how much this thing costs, but I'm sure it's a lot because of the staging. But if it can't push the bass, then I don't really care. Definitely bigger stage, and it just feels more open and more pleasant, but less energy in the bass. If I could have a cross between this and the Jotunheim with the Arya, that's what I'd want. Unfortunately, haven't heard that yet. Now I'm told that I can use this adapter. Let's try that out. So it says amp end. Let's turn this all the way down. He said to use this for Sesfara, but I'm really curious to know. Oh, that fixes the bass. So apparently you have to use this side. I don't know what the difference is. It's more powerful for sure, but I'm getting what sounds like in between what I was just describing. So this is actually pretty nice. The bass doesn't hit the impact is not so hard at first, but it definitely has some power to it. And the stage is open. I've heard Arya before on a Hugo 2, and I did not like the way that it sounded. It was staging in front of me, but it was all like at eye level and just felt awkward. However, this does not. It sounds pretty good. I'm really curious to try HD1000 on this after hearing this setup. The knob is so freaking irritating though. It feels like nails on a chalkboard to me. If I got this amp, I would definitely use a preamp just so I don't have to use the knob. Yeah. Huh. Alright, well, that's Arya. I keep wanting to listen more, but I forget I'm testing. So let's try HD800. Alright, so I got the HD800 on the right hand side of this HSA-1B. I actually think that the Arya is staging more, which I did not think was possible. But let's try this side. I think that the DAC is holding back the HD800. HD800 is both DAC and amp picky, and I think that's what's going on. Arya is winning on this amp. Arya sounds really good on this amp actually. So the problem with HD800 is it can't compete with Arya's stage on this amp and DAC. So the treble is imaging better, but overall stage goes to Arya. All right, now we'll switch over to the 430HA. So my camera was overheating, but I did listen to Arya and HD800 on the 430HA. I guess the biggest thing I noticed is that, first of all, the bass is much more powerful than anything else here. The instrument separation is very good on the 430HA. Presentation-wise, everything was too close to me for HD800, and also on Arya, between these two, the stage is much bigger when using this output on the HSA-1B. HD800 images better than Arya on both of them, but Arya stage is bigger on this one. HD800 being held back by the DAC here, because I know because I've heard HD800 on this amp several times and on several DACs, and the UD501 just doesn't cut it for HD800. Alright, so to summarize everything, we've got the three headphones. Everything's running through the UD501. For the HD800, the 501 was the biggest restriction because it's both DAC and amp picky, and they just couldn't do anything great with the 501 holding it back. The other two, the DAC didn't seem to matter as much. And the best thing here that I heard was the Arya. This is Arya V1 on the HSA-1B. It was the winner. However, this is a very expensive setup, and with a mid-tier headphone and a mid-tier DAC, so probably not the best combination to recommend, but it was the best thing here. We'll test other things later, but out of these three, this was the winner on this. And this HD800 on the Crack was the cheapest thing that I thought did something special, and the Jotunheim was just a little bit behind that. So the real recommendations here, I would say, if you're really gonna look for one of these three headphones, I would say, and you have this DAC, I would say HD800 on the Crack is the winner. Of course, you have to build it yourself, so next runner-up is HD800 on the Jotunheim. Now the Arya and the HD800 both did well on the Jotunheim, and this is the Jotunheim V2. So I guess that pretty much wraps it up. I was expecting the Arya to do well on the iHouse 6, but it just came in a little too hot. I think if you ask me, I would say that UD501 is a little bit hot, the iHouse-6 is a little bit hot, and the Arya is a little bit hot. So when you combine the three together, they get more than a little bit hot. So just in the iHouse-6 needs a DAC that can calm it down a little bit, and I bet you the RME would do the would be a good combo. RME ADI2 FS. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it. That's what I thought. So I'll go through a whole bunch of other headphones later, but for now, this is my first one. It was kind of fun doing this, but it's also a pain in the ass. But I hope this gives you a little bit more insight to, you know, headphone chains in general. We will do some DAC shootouts as well, but I think the amps are more important, so I wanted to get those done first. And of course, we'll do more headphone shootouts 3 at a time. The reason I couldn't do DT1990 Pro on the balanced amps is because this only comes unbalanced. The cable here is restricted to 3 pins, and balanced is 4 pins. So I did not mod mine or any of my Beyerdynamics. So that's why that happened. All right, go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you want to see more content, and see you guys later. Peace.